So I know I
Sure.
gave you an overview of who we are and what we do. So we'd love to just start off by having you introduce yourself and why you're running.
Okay. Okay, so my name is Briget Rein. I'm a candidate for City Council for the 39th City Council District. Uh, I, I'm going to tell a story. I usually tell a story. I was a teacher in Flatbush, right by, hold on, I'm getting a call. I'm sorry, I declined.
Okay.
I was a teacher in Flatbush, and you know, I taught in a school which is an Everger's warehouse, and it was in Snyder, and it was a place that had no windows, no there two one entrance, one exit, no windows, brown water, mold, and I thought that was just inhuman to put children there. So what I did is I called the UFT and I asked them to come in and do air and water and mold and everything testing. So I had like a document that I brought to Yvette Clark, who was the city council person at the time, and Marty Markowitz and Chuck Schumer, and I lobbied. And I lobbied to the point where a new building was deemed and cited for PS 109, and they got the money, and I became, a hit, with the the electeds, and I also became a hit with the UFT. So the UFT then finally hired me, and I got to work with a very great lady, and her name was Randy Weingarten, still is, and she's the AFT president, and she became my political mother, and we worked together for many years, and then she appointed me as her deputy political director, and then my job was totally to do city hall. So what I did is I negotiated budgets with her, and then I went on to negotiate with Michael Mulgrew, the president at present. I stepped down from that job this year. I am now the assistant to the staff director, but I have negotiated budgets. I've worked with Peter Vallone, speaker. I've worked with Chris Quinn, speaker, Melissa Mark Viverito, and then Corey Johnson. So I've negotiated with him. I've negotiated with mayors, Michael Bloomberg and Bill de Blasio. And I decided this year that I wanted to run. And why I wanted to run is the same work product that I did for the teachers and the teachers union and the education funding that came into the schools. I wanted to do for my community that I live in. I love it. I just love being here. And I live in Carroll Gardens, and I've lived here for 20 years. And I've been very happy here. So I have a robust platform. And the first thing that I want to do is I want to work with my federal and state partners and try to get more money for COVID relief. COVID relief is the most essential part of this budget season and the budget season going forward. If we don't have enough funding to provide for the victims' families, those who have passed, and the families of those who have passed. And, I also would like to talk about the families like mine. July 25th, my mother passed away in a rehab center all alone. She went for cancer treatment. She came back from surgery, and they put her in a rehabilitation center, and she was there all by herself. And not being with families is a terrible thing, and they people that are sick don't really recover very well if they don't have familiar faces around. So I think that we need to also provide some compensation for families like mine. I'm not asking, I have. But they need to be given some solace. Part of COVID relief is rent, rent forgiveness. unemployment insurance, small business rent forgiveness, and an enhancement to keep small businesses in our community. Seventh Avenue has become a desert. People are coming and going, and they're leaving. And I like to, and give them some hope that they could stay in the community. Also, I'd like to also make sure that we provide unemployment insurance and make sure that people have enough food. There is a problem with food distribution, homelessness, and that's from COVID. So I want to work with our federal and state partners. And part of my job is budget, so I have to make sure that there's enough money in the budget and how to negotiate the different programs in the budget that I will provide monies for our COVID relief. The next thing is schools. Education is the forefront of my life. I was a teacher. I have worked with the two education chairs, Danny Drum and Mark Traeger, and I want to provide similar service to the community as well. I would like to continue the work of Brad Lander and continue the participatory budgeting. I think that's a value system that allows community the ability to negotiate their budgets alongside with the council members, which is a valuable system. I also, and that provides a foundation to a certain for each council members to have their wishes and wish lists being fulfilled. I also would like to build two good high schools in the district, one on my end of the district, which is Cobble Hill, Columbia Waterfront, Gowanus, Carroll Gardens, and then the next on the Park Slope side. We don't have enough high schools. We only have one, and it would be very important and essential to us to have a high school. I also would like to provide more seats for our students. We have growing families, and continue the diversity package that we in District 15 have fostered. We were in the forefront of it alongside District 1 and District 3, and I want to continue the work of what Anita Scott and the District 15 CEC they're doing for the diversity package.
Just want to maybe like 30 more seconds. I want to leave about 10 minutes for questions, and we're giving every candidate about 20 minutes. But thank you.
20. Okay, so I'll just continue. I'll do one more platform, and then I'll tell you who have endorsed me and how much money I have in my path to winning. In terms of transportation, I have a very good idea. I'd like to close down Union Street. And that's a street that goes from Columbia Waterfront to Prospect Park. I'd like to provide more bike lanes there, which would be a great way for bringing all of our community into Prospect Park and use the park. I'd like to have active pedestrian walkways, more of them, not just the two streets on either side. We would have, lanes that would provide for pedestrians, and two good bus lines. In terms of what that encompasses, I want to continue the work of Brad Lander and Joanne Simon to make sure that we get the B71 bus back, which is on 6th Avenue, and we make sure that there is an ability for the B71. I also would like to have all our F train stations and R train stations be ADA acceptable, that they have an ability to have either an escalator or an elevator put into place. I, as the city council member, can provide funding through my budget process, through my budget wish list, to make sure that that happens. I'd like to also make sure that my libraries are culturally encompassing the cultures of my district, and making sure that they have different languages. So at the end of my talk, I'm going to talk to you who has endorsed me. I've been endorsed by UFT, RWDSU, 338, Local 3. I have Seafarers, Local 270, 237 of the Teamsters. I have DC 37. I am in the pathway of getting most of the labor unions in the city. I also have Mark Green. He has endorsed me. Carolyn Maloney, of course, my mentor and mother, Randy Weingarten. I have Danny Drum, Mark Traeger, John Liu, Robert Jackson. I have Leroy Comrie, Diane Savino, and I have Carolyn Maloney, if I did mention that. My pathway to winning, and this is my last.
Sorry, I appreciate all the detail. Maybe we can save the pathway to winning if there's
Okay,
for the end. I appreciate it, but just want to make sure we, I have a couple questions already in the chat and want to make sure we get to those. Sarah has her hand raised, and then we'll go to Jess. She messaged me, but we'll go to you first, Sarah.
All right. Hi, good afternoon. We spoke earlier by phone. All right,
Hi,
so you had mentioned in your questionnaire and when speaking with me earlier that you had hoped for these greenways as well as for the B71. But I live in the very southern part of the district. That's where most of us in District 39 are located. And we actually have a really dangerous intersection at Church Avenue and Ocean Parkway, which has seen 6 pedestrian deaths in 6 years. What would be your plan for this intersection?
One, it's, you know, it's funny. I attend Community Board 12. I'm a Community Board 6 member, but I attend Community Board 12, and Community Board 12 is the one that's in charge of that intersection, and DOT has come and presented to Community Board 12 their plans. They have various plans. That intersection really does not have a very good, stop sign or stoplight. And I would ask for a speed bump to be put in. I would talk to DOT and try to get a speed bump put in. We don't have one at that area. I drive through there. I'm going to tell you, I'm a driver. Also, there needs to be a speed limit for that intersection. People speed, and I know because people speed, and we also need to reduce the amount of lanes of traffic, because the amount of lanes of traffic, there are 3 lanes of traffic, so it's too much. So what I'm going to say to you is 1 speed bump, a definite light. And, in terms of the fact that we need it well lit, and, the bank sometimes makes people a little bit crazy, the TD Bank that's right there. Am I correct? It's the TD Bank that's close to, no? I don't know.
I don't believe there's a bank at that intersection. You might be thinking of the Prospect Park West.
Prospect Park West. I'm sorry. I'm getting my intersections, but a speed bump. I know which area that is, but I'm telling you, a speed bump and a light, and make sure that we reduce the traffic.
Thank you so much, Briget. Ellen, I see that your hand's raised. Jess messaged me in the chat, so I'll go to Jess and then Ellen.
Yeah, sure. Okay, cool. Thanks. I'm in the middle of cooking, so I'm not going to turn my camera on. Sorry. Hi, my name's cooking? What am I cooking? I'm making loaded tater tots right now in honor of Super Bowl Sunday, even though I don't watch the Super Bowl. I live across the Ocean Parkway from Sarah, and I happen to be the president of Community Education Council District 22. So I know District 22 literally encompasses like a block of CD 39. Because I
taught in District 22.
Which school?
PS 109.
109. I love it. So this past week, our council passed 3 resolutions. I'm very proud to say, thank you. Not written by me, but we passed resolutions on expanded funding for remote learning, expanded funding for multilingual access for both our learners and our families. And we passed a resolution on, the least contentious one, which was internet access for all families in New York, expanded internet access. And I'm wondering where you stand. Are you supportive of these issues, and do you see them as somebody who is focused on education, do you see kind of the future of our schools as really focusing and like hubbing on these things? So these are going to be essential tools that we need in order to provide public education going forward.
Well, COVID, and just thank you for that question. COVID was the one who threw technology into the forefront. We became from in-person learning to remote learning in a quick second. And I'll tell you something, remote learning has a lot of good qualities, and it also has some bad qualities. The good qualities for remote learning are the fact that you're able to um, do your lessons and have them complete, and you don't get into the weeds of, there's like problems in the classroom. I was a teacher. Sometimes, you spend most of your time doing discipline and then a little bit of your time doing, the actual teaching. When you do remote learning, it's a focused. You're focused on the teaching, and you're focused on making sure that the kids understand what you're teaching. And I am applauding you for District 22, my alma mater that I taught in, that you're able to promote more money for remote learning. What we have to do is take this technology of remote learning and Zoom and internet and teaching, through a computer to the next level. And I know that I will join forces with you as the education chair. Hopefully I become the education chair to provide more funding for remote learning, more staff development also with remote learning, and making sure that is in one of our keys in teaching. Now, remote learning will be taking over probably the snow days. And I think that's good in a way for making children have that robust education and seamless education. There's no break in service. Hold on, there was a spam right now. Jess, what was the other position that CEC 22 took after remote learning?
Expanded access for translation services for multilingual learners and their families, and also just expanded internet access. We have dead zones across 22. So
Gail Brewer, just so you know, Gail Brewer and I worked together with Michael Mulgrew, and she was a city council member in Manhattan. She then became the borough president of Manhattan. She wanted to talk about the broadband and the fact that we need to have every school and every community have the ability to have Wi-Fi. So what we need to do is, as education chair, that one of the things that I will make a promise to this club and to everybody who is listening is that I'll make sure that we have enough money in the budget for broadband and Wi-Fi, that every child will have a laptop and a computer that will work. And we must do that, because this remote learning is not going to end. And not saying that's going to replace in-person learning, but it might be a good tool for some, enrichment, a good tool for, a Saturday school or Sunday school, and make sure that the education is seamless. So I want to congratulate you in District 22. And who is the superintendent now? I used to have John Comer.
Oh, it's Juliana Beauvais, who I think she was a principal. I can't remember, at Cunningham, maybe.
Oh, wow.
One of the middle schools, but yeah, so it's been a while.
It's been a while for me. I go back to John Comer.
She was principal at Huddy.
Oh, she was a principal at Huddy. Wow, that's wonderful.
I think we have time probably just for one more question, Ellen, if you want to ask your question.
Just a very quick question. In your questionnaire, you talked about funding for, when we asked about healthcare, you talked about increased funding, but I wonder what your position is on the New York Health Act.
So the New York Health Act, I'm changing I'm a labor person, so I just have to explain to you that that labor unions negotiate their healthcare, their insurance companies and their healthcare systems. Some labor unions are a HIP group, and some labor unions are a GHI Emblem Health. I'm changing my perspective on things by talking to a lot of groups now, and I think that it's a beneficial tool to have a healthcare system for everybody. And I'm not telling you that I have put this in my position papers yet, but I'm starting to see things differently through the eyes and the lens of not just a union person, through the eyes and the lens of somebody who wants to help my community. And there is a value to single payer healthcare, and there's a value to making sure that everybody has coverage. And I have to tell you, I will work with my federal and state partners to find tools and resources to make sure that everybody gets appropriate health care, especially those who cannot afford even the copays. I have to be honest with you. I went to City MD. They charged me $50 for a visit. Now, if I went to a regular doctor, it would be 15. So the differentiation of copays, if I'm explaining things correctly to you, is very interesting, and how a healthcare industry and the healthcare system sometimes rises. They when they're feeling they have not enough money in their coffers, they raise their copay system. Having a free healthcare system might be a beneficial use for our community and the people that live in our community. I'm in the process of changing my position. I did not change my position in the questionnaire, in terms of like, I said I would support, but I'm telling you that I'm being honest with you. I'm an honest broker. I am changing my position because I come from a labor organization which negotiates.
Yeah, understand. We know a lot about the union's position on that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Briget. I do think we have to wrap up. We're giving every candidate about the same amount of time, about 20 minutes to speak with us. Just want to acknowledge there are a couple comments in the chat around, or a comment in the chat around making subway stations ADA accessible being a New York State budget issue. And not having.
I know it's a New York State budget issue, but there is a possibility that you can work together with your federal and state partners to make sure that that happens. But I will be in the forefront of just asking for it. I as a city council member, just the last thing, and then I'll just tell you, as a city council member, you're supposed to be the lobbyist for the community, and a lot of them sit in the council and they don't really go to Albany and Washington. I plan to make trips to Albany and Washington to make sure that my community has the best.
Got it. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time, and thank you for answering our questions. As mentioned, this has been recorded, so we'll share this out on our social media platforms and our website.
I want to thank you for everything. And I got to tell you something. I have a very good pathway to win. And, it's called hard work. And I'm going to make sure that I do the hard work and be in the community. And I want to thank the South Central Brooklyn United for Progress. And, you're a wonderful group. And I hope to get your endorsement or your support. And I really love talking to one of your members, Ellen. Thank you for talking to me, and thank you.
Thank you. And if anyone,
should I leave now?
So we'll end the meeting if there's an email or anything that you want to send for other questions for people to ask.
Oh, so everybody, if you want my, and could you please put this in the chat? It's BRIGETREIN.com. That's my website. And if you want to call me for anything, if you're having a problem, 917-825-2353. If you're having any issues, I'd be happy to help, and I'd be happy to help my community now. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Briget. And I'll send you some info after this via email about our February general meeting. We'll be voting on potential endorsement.
Thank you so much and have a very good Sunday.
You too. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.